Good? We're good to start. Sorry, Zoom is so weird. I don't know if you can hear me. Like, it's just
Yeah.
so awkward. Okay,
Yep,
great.
I'm
So,
good.
thank you. Okay, public comment period. There is no public. Great. Additional items? Does anyone want to add anything? Okay, looks good. No additions necessary. Review and approve minutes from November 13th. Would anyone like to do that? Do I have a chance to look those over?
Yep. Had a look. So one more person.
Would you like to make a motion to approve those?
I would love to make a motion to approve of those minutes.
Of that. Anyone else? Want
A
a
second.
second? Great. All those in favor of approving the minutes?
I
Aye. Yes.
Great. That'll do it. Okay, so that means the motion passes and the minutes are approved. I don't have any correspondence that I recall that wasn't already talking about an agenda item. So we can move through that into new business. That brings us to Vermont Land Trust request for volunteers. Kristen, this is you. And you're muted.
I'm going to share a quick couple of slides just to orient folks.
Make sure you're allowed to. I think you can.
Okay,
Yes, you can. Good. It's just not my account. That's the school's, it's the town's account.
sure. And you can see this history of Far Fuller.
mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Um, so folks may be familiar with the northern gateway to Bristol along Route 116 and 17 between the village and what used to be Mary's at Baldwin Creek is now the Tillerman. That whole stretch of agricultural land is in conservation with the Vermont Land Trust. And there were two separate projects that were conserved at about the same time in 2013 or so, 2014. Um, one farm to the north, if the Tillerman is here, was the Bob Fuller farm. And then the farm to the south was the former Farr farm, which is now known as the Gateway Farm. And it's operated by Trent and Abby Rollo and family. And they sell pasture fed meats and maple products there. So conserving those lands through the Vermont Land Trust made it much more possible for them to purchase those lands back in 2013 or 14 and establish their um, Gateway Farm. And from the road, it looks like this. And they have a little farm stand here that sells their pasture raised meats and other things. And so, as part of this conservation project, also, the Nature Conservancy, who owned these two parcels in green, acquired 57 additional acres at that same time, and those lands are instrumental in protecting the habitat for peregrine falcons. And they also do maple production on the forest lands and then graze their cattle on the farmlands. So in the past, um, this Conservation Commission has been involved in supporting both of these conservation projects with, for example, we helped to pay for the appraisals that were part of the process of putting those lands into conservation. And we were also instrumental in a local fundraising effort that raised around $90,000 toward the total cost of conserving those lands. Um, we contributed additionally at the Gateway Farm in 2016. We voted with the select board's permission to contribute $2,500 from the Bristol Conservation Reserve Fund toward a Trees for Streams grant that paid to plant a bunch of native tree species along the buffer at the Gateway Farm and supplied a support letter for that effort. And we sent some volunteers to help with planting and also management of wild parsnip. Last year, uh, flooding impacted the stream and caused some erosion, and that erosion has encroached upon the livestock fencing that is along the Baldwin Creek here. And so Vermont Land Trust has reached out to us to ask if we would be willing to supply volunteers in the springtime. They don't need money at this time. They are applying for what's called a QUISP, or Clean Water Service Provider grant, through the Addison County Regional Planning Commission to pay for replacement fencing in a couple spots. The Addison County Riverwatch Collaborative is going to plant some willows in those eroded spots. And then they have a contractor that will come in and plant where we need new trees. And also, they're going to manage invasive species, including honeysuckle and probably some wild parsnip again. So the ask at this time is just simply if we can put on our calendars to be available sometime in the spring, and the date is yet to be determined, but it's usually April, May time, to supply some volunteers to help with planting willows and managing invasives. So that's my little spiel on VLT project. Any questions?
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm wondering, what is the possible Nature Conservancy purchase? How does?
Oh, well, this is an old map.
Yeah.
So this map was active back in 2013 or so when these two projects were being proposed. And in actual fact, TNC did purchase these 57 acres. So they now own this green parcel, this yellow parcel, and this green parcel. And that happened at the same time as the closing on the former Far Farm, when those lands were put into conservation by Vermont Land Trust. So that was back in 2013, 2014 or so.
Okay, and then the work that would need to be done is somewhere near like the F and FAR or something like that, like along the waterway.
Correct. Yeah, it's right along here, this section of the Baldwin Creek.
Okay.
Slightly unrelated question. Does the Johnson land start like just to the west of that green rectangle that you had on there?
Yes, it's my understanding that it does, up in here. Yep.
Because I remember them saying they were trying to come down the backside of that. I thought down to 116 for parking down there, but I don't see. I guess if that's former Fuller Farm.
So they
Well,
have,
I think that was one of the um
their,
conceptual ideas about how to connect this parcel. And gave them feedback at an early meeting to say that, a trail in this approximate location would run into issues because that's peregrine habitat lands and it's private lands. And so I don't believe that as a trail spur is any longer being considered, but of course,
but I
we
think
don't
the
have those
parking
plans.
area that I think Roger's talking about, I think it's further north than this. So you
Yes,
can see sort of at the top of this picture, is sort of like where the Tillerman is.
right across
So
from there. Yep,
they have, yeah, they have a parking area there. They also have another parking area that's further north, closer to Nancy's house.
correct.
So I think one of those sections is where they're talking about.
Yep.
And then saying all the way. It's cool. It's a long distance.
Okay, great. So you're hoping to get, or you, I mean, not you, but whoever you're speaking for, was it, I'm not sure the agency at this time, but, was just like us to volunteer, like a workday kind of a thing?
Yes. So the contact at Vermont Land Trust is Kyle Burr, and he's the one that is kind of coordinating everything and going after the grant funds through the Addison County Regional Planning Commission, and also engaging other partners like the Addison County Riverwatch Collaborative, who will be in charge of some of the willow plantings. So Kyle is just wanting to give us some notice that in the spring, if we are able to, it would be great to have some volunteers from the commission, or just even like, for example, the Bristol Trail Network, since Porter has a long list of folks who are interested in trail maintenance and in these kinds of activities, we might reach out to that network, for example, to get some volunteers to assist with buffer plantings here.
Okay, so that's maybe like, we should talk about that again then like in April, you think?
I would say March or April there would be a more definitive plan in terms of proposed dates and things like that.
Great. Okay, cool. Anyone else have anything they want to talk about with that?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, then we'll move on to Bristol Flats presentation debrief. Also, like this whole meeting is just Kristen talking.
Well, Jono was there with me today too. Is Jono on the call yet? Oh, bummer. Okay.
Mhm.
I was going to point to Jono. Okay. So today in the Holly Hall offices there in the basement, was a presentation by SLR Consulting, who was contracted by Addison County Regional Planning Commission. And so Andrew LaRoe from the Planning Commission was there as well. And they presented to a handful of us that included mostly landowners along the stretch of the New Haven River south of the Bristol Village, also known as the Bristol Flats, but to the south of the village. There has been a study, an alternatives analysis that has been conducted over the past year or so with a grant from the Addison County Regional Planning Commission to the town of Bristol to investigate alternatives for flood resiliency in that section of the river between the Hewitt Lane Bridge all the way down to Sycamore Park. So it's about a 3-mile stretch of the river. And it has been impacted by flooding in the past. And so this was an effort to create a computer model of the river in that 3-mile section and then explore various alternatives for floodplain restoration and opening up flood chutes and things of that nature. And they were testing these alternatives with their computer model to understand how they would influence flood depths and flood velocities in future large floods, for example, the 100-year storm, the 500-year storm. So they gave that presentation, and in attendance was Jono, who's one of the landowners along that stretch, but also Ken Johnson from the former A. Johnson Company, and the current owner of the former A. Johnson Company mill was there, and Ken Weston and a couple other folks that live kind of along that stretch. And so I guess the bottom line for us is that there were no silver bullets. There was no like one project of floodplain restoration that could be effective across that whole 3-mile stretch to lower flood elevations and reduce flood velocities. But there are a few projects worth considering and moving from this conceptual stage to maybe a 30% design stage. And so they are at the point, SLR Corporation is at the point of finalizing their report and making that publicly available. So we'll be able to get a copy of today's presentation and share that with the commission. And when they finalize the report in the next month, we'll also be able to share that with the commission. And the next steps would be to take a couple projects to a 30% design and begin landowner outreach at those couple of projects.
Were the projects like just for a section of the river, or were they like, okay,
Yeah, largely so. There were, I believe, 10 different projects that were modeled and considered, and they each were affecting a small portion of that 3-mile stretch of river. And collectively, you could argue that multiple of these projects might have a combined
right?
cumulative effect that would be greater than the sum of any individual project. So, but they would have various social feasibilities in terms of landowner willingness, but also what their computer modeling showed was that only 2 or 3 of the projects really rose to the level of having a meaningful impact on reducing water surface elevations and water velocities.
Did those happen to be socially acceptable as well?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, possibly. And so, for example, the current owner of the former A. Johnson Company mill um, will meet with Kyle Midash, who is the floodplain manager for our region of the state, to discuss some options for flood proofing some of the buildings on that parcel, or even considering things like removing buildings that are no longer serving a useful purpose and perhaps lowering um, the floodplain elevation at a few spots within the footprint of the former A. Johnson Company mill. So that's one potential follow-on project that was identified.
Cool.
So I can make the presentation available as soon as I receive it, and when they finish their report, I can make that available to folks as well.
Okay.
Oh, and I
Yeah.
should mention also that AZ, our zoning administrator, was also there for the presentation.
Nice, that's good. And this is separate from, there was a while where we had some conversation about FEMA and funding being, hello. Just a member of the public visiting.
Sorry, we're doing the show. We just
Getting caught on that.
So, what?
I never knew there was water in there.
Yeah.
So,
Um, so there was something about FEMA and being in compliance with certain kinds of buffers and flood mitigation. This would be a separate issue though, right? Or would some of
This
these
is
strategies tie into making that benchmark for FEMA?
This is a separate project, yeah, with that was funded through the Clean Water Service Providers, so that's state funds, um, administered through the Regional Planning Commission in Addison County. One thing did come up in the discussion today was that FEMA is in the process of updating the floodplain maps for the town of Bristol, and they are expected out in 2027.
Okay.
And we just discussed it in the sense that the computer modeling shared with us today by SLR Consulting shows inundation for the 100-year flood that is very similar to what the preliminary FEMA maps are showing, that won't be finalized until 2027.
Okay. Okay, cool. Just, I know FEMA has concerns about that piece, and so I wasn't sure where we were with that. Okay, thank you. That's
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, Kristen, for that.
Sure.
And we'll on to old business. And we have any parks updates for Angel Memorial, Sycamore, Saunders, etc. before we get into management plans? Anyone boots on the ground there? I haven't been.
Aiden's abandoned us. So.
No, I don't know where he is. Yeah.
I noticed
Yeah.
that the town green got a bunch of new wood chips.
ooh.
But that's the only park I've noticed. It's very snowy out there.
Got to the park.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure they're full of snow.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. In that case then, sorry to put you on the spot again, but I guess we'll do the management plans for Lordsburg Rec and Seth Hill.
Sure. Let's see. So I guess I'll start with Seth Hill. We, as a group, reviewed this draft management plan back in July, and at the time, there were some conversations ongoing about some of the erosion control work that had been done along the Forest Service road. And Aidan was working to communicate amongst several stakeholders, including David Brin at the Vermont Family Forests, who had prepared the forest management plan for the and also had coordinated the erosion control work on the trails at the park, the property. And Aidan also is speaking with Don Gale, who is a maple leaseholder in the property. And he was also reaching out to U.S. Forest Service. And these were conversations that he was asked to have by Ian, who was operating as the interim town manager at the time. And what was discovered is that some of the work that was done in the summer of 2024 on the U.S. Forest Service road was done even though a segment of that road is on private property, not on the town of Bristol property. And so those conversations were happening at about the very same time as we reviewed this past draft management plan. And so I recommended that I follow those conversations and update the plan with what was found as a result of those conversations. And also that I recommended that I should modify figure number 4, I think, to reflect the fact that that Forest Service road crosses a little piece of private property, as well as town of Bristol property. So that's what you see in front of you, or that's what was shared with you over email, was the updated Seth Hill management plan. And I'll just share it really quick. So hopefully you see the Seth Hill management plan in front of you.
If you close that,
Sorry?
close that all tools panel on the left, we'll be able to see bigger, I think.
All tools. Oh, here?
Yeah, if you just close that, like.
Oh, I
panel
see what you're saying. Yep. Thank
whole
you.
thing.
And then I'll make it a little bigger. Okay. So basically anything in red is what's new since the version you saw in July. And the main change was this map, which I updated. Now you can see that the Forest Service road crosses a little piece of private property outside the boundaries of the town of Bristol property. And here's the spring road with the solid white line leading up to the spring. What else did I do? Anything in red. So I updated this to say that you all who walked the property in May saw no evidence of after dark usage, no evidence of trash dumping. And then what I did say was that, oh, I'm sorry. I updated the discussion around
Bridge.
erosion
Yeah.
control work. So this is a sentence here that's updated. And I apologize. I have a track changes version in Word, but when I made it into a PDF, the track changes disappeared. And so I'm happy to share over email the track changes version so it's easier for you all to see exactly where I made those edits. But essentially what I did was update the current state of knowledge about the fact that in a select board meeting on August 11th, it was resolved that the work on the Forest Service road should be revised or remediated in order to reduce the number of water bars by half and drop the height of them so that Don Gale can now pass over that road more easily to access his taps on the US Forest Service lands. What is left, what is not yet to be determined is who's going to pay for that work. And so the parties are in continuing discussions around how to afford it and how to implement it. And when I reached out to our current town administrator through Ian, I don't have a reply back yet as to whether there's any more new information about that. So the management plan being a living document, maybe this is the best we're going to get, but for this at this time. But my recommendation to this commission is that if everything looks good to you, we will forward this draft management plan to the select board for their approval. And as they review this, it may bring up this topic again, and we could continue that discussion around how to pay for fixing the Forest Service road. It's my understanding that the Forest Service themselves have not stepped up to say that they could pay for this work.
So, two questions. We have a fund, right? Would this be something that qualifies for like helping out?
The Conservation Reserve Fund, it's possible. The wording about how those funds are to be used is somewhat flexible. And when we can't decide how to spend those funds, we have to make a recommendation to the select board, but we could, as a commission, recommend using, yeah.
Because
But I don't, honestly, I don't know what the cost would be to make those changes, and that maybe is something that David Brin could help us estimate the cost of.
Didn't Family Forest pay to put all those in the first
Well,
place?
they had a grant.
They
Yeah,
had
they
a grant. With a grant, they did.
Oof.
And the work was approved by the US Forest Service. But now, in hindsight, the US Forest Service is agreeing that the work should be revised.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
says that the Conservation Reserve Fund is to be expended by the select board for the purpose of land acquisition, conservation, easements, and or interest in property that achieve Bristol town plans conservation objectives.
Yeah, so not really.
So I don't know if that would be an appropriate
No.
use.
Kind of
just
the
because
opposite
it's
of
like,
the original objective.
yeah, it's almost the opposite,
Yeah.
right? It's
Because the objective is met, right, from a
right from a
Conservation
conservation
point of view.
perspective, but not from a stakeholder
yeah,
perspective, maybe, right?
that's brutal.
Yeah.
I redact my suggestion.
But if the plan looks good otherwise, this might be an opportunity to have that discussion with the select board through the lens of reviewing this plan and
Mhm.
getting their approval of the plan.
Yeah.
And I'll mention quickly that the other plan that I sent to you was for the Lord's Prayer Rock, which as a commission we have reviewed previously, and we voted to forward it to the select board. At the time, the town administrator suggested that we bundle a couple of these plans together before bringing them to the select board. It just makes their time a little bit more effective if they've got two to approve at once. So these are the two that we could now send to the select board, although I'm mindful that this is a really busy time for the select board in terms of preparing for town meeting day and reviewing budgets and things. So it may be that it gets tabled until after town meeting, but I think we're in no tremendous hurry either. So
I'm also looking at this management plan organizational document that you
like the tracking one, yeah.
and I'm seeing, so it looks like we have approved management plans for Memorial, Eagle Park, and Sycamore.
Yes.
Lord's Prayer Rock is like almost done. Seth Hill is waiting to be approved by us, and then we'll be almost done with the Lord's Prayer Rock. And then that list also includes Coffin Factory, Town Green, Shacket Picnic Area, Saunders River Access, Basin Street question mark. And I'm wondering if you could walk us through sort of what those are, where they might be, or, could we bundle some of those even?
Yeah,
Like, could someone be like miscellaneous parks and you could throw in like Coffin Factory with Saunders and Shacket or Basin, or I don't know what Basin would be, so.
right. Yeah, so the Coffin Factory is the one small town park, town-owned parcel at the bottom of South Street, right next to the bridge that has the historic marker about the old factories that were there, the coffin factory that was there.
That's held up so well. I'm
It
so
has really held up well. I'm so impressed. Yeah.
a good
Uh,
sign. You're not gonna
and
like, yeah,
we at one point we thought we could do a few more of those historical markers, and that's sort of in the back of my mind as a possibility.
yeah.
The town green speaks for itself. That's another town park that we should record for posterity how it came to be and
Mhm.
and how we aim to use it. And as I begin to write that one, I think I'll talk a lot to Aiden because I think he has a good sense of
Mhm.
current uses and how to manage that park.
It'd be
Um,
good to actually formalize for some of the pieces. There'll be like policies for the town green that no one knows about, right? Or are
yeah,
they rumors? Like, there's the rumor that nothing can be added to the town green unless something is taken. I don't know if that's true or is that just like some random in the ethos, like where does that come from? If there's no management plan, then why would people say that, right? So,
right.
um, good, John Swepson, I'm sure could help with that too.
Yep, for sure. The Shacket picnic area is along Route 116, just north of River Road and Sycamore Park. And one of the buyouts that happened after the 1998 flood. There had been a small home there that was bought out, that was impacted by the flood. And so that parcel was bought out and turned over to the town, and now there's a picnic table there. So even just codifying that that's how that parcel came to be would be important. And I have actually a start on that plan in terms of I did the deed research and so forth. So that'll
I
be
think this is too
straightforward.
like then people forget they even exist, and then who knows, it's just nice to have it like written down somewhere.
Definitely. Yeah. And Basin Street, it's a good thing I have a question mark there because I'm not really sure. What I was thinking of was there we have a wastewater treatment facility down there, so that's a town-owned parcel, and
Mhm.
it is at the terminus presently of one of the spurs of the Bristol Trail network.
Mhm.
And so there's not a lot of features there, but maybe it's good to have a bit of a plan pulled together for that town-owned parcel as well. I don't know.
Do we also own the land by so like the water, it's not a water tower, it's a water pond?
Oh, it's yes, I imagine we do. Where the reservoir is?
If
Yeah,
that's down there, I imagine that other one, we must own something with that, right?
I think you're right. I think we own like around the perimeter of the reservoir, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
Um, well, thank you for all this work. There's so much happening here. Could you sign Saunders? That one, does it have didn't we approve a management plan for that?
We did. It has an interim management plan, which is a different sort of beast. It's a plan not written by the town, but it's a plan written by the Vermont River Conservancy, who holds the easement, and the town. And it's an agreement about how that property, that conserved parcel, will be managed. And that gets revisited every 5 or 10 years or so, or sooner if there's a need. And we probably could revisit that. And my thought was we could have that interim management plan be in lieu of a typical town management plan, but I'm open to thoughts on that too. If people feel strongly that it should have its own town management plan, we could do that.
Yeah, I think anything's better than nothing, and also making these available so people can find them online, or the select board can find them easily if they're thinking of what they want to do with the parcel, or, and if when questions come up, it's nice if we have that information like available, and it's not like all the back of desk drawers and someone remembers something, it's nice if it's like somewhere.
Right. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
anything's better than nothing, right? And I'm
Yep.
not sure the difference between what it would mean to be like an interim management plan that's co-authored in different ways versus what you're creating.
Yeah.
I understand the difference.
And up until now, we've just prioritized the other town parks for management plans because they had nothing. So that's why that one has been kind of last on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No, this is such great work you're doing with this. Getting rid of all those paper parks, turning into real parks now.
Yeah. Hmm.
Do people have questions about what's happening with these? Do we want to vote, or do you want to have a movement with a vote? Would that be good? What would you like?
It probably would be good for someone to make a motion to approve the Seth Hill
I'll make a
management plan.
motion.
We've already approved the other one, so
I'll make a
yeah.
motion to approve it. Thank you so much for all this work. They were amazingly put together. And it's going to be really cool to have all that history together.
Excellent. Thanks.
And I'll second that, and I second that those comments by as well. Fantastic work, Kristen.
Thanks so much.
So do we, I forgot what I was supposed to say. Is all those in favor of approving the motion to accept the management plan?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome, great. Okay, so that motion will carry, and this will be an approved document.
And I'll forward that to the select board in the next few days here.
Finish, and I think that I don't want to amend the motion, but I think that goes without saying, you're gonna finish up the track changes or whatever you said you would do.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
That sounds great. Any other comments that we have about the management plans in general? How do we feel about where we're at? Next steps, next thing to work on? Does anyone else want to write one of these? Give Kristen a break? Any thoughts?
She set the bar too
I
high.
know they're so good now. I know.
Is next step doing kind of like what you were saying, combining and prepping for the select board, even if we wait a while to deliver them.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll send them right away to the new town administrator and let him decide when is the appropriate time to put it on a agenda for select board. Yeah.
Is that something that we need or should attend, like that specific select?
Usually, yeah. Usually when it is on the agenda, whoever can attend and wants to goes in case they have questions or if there's a discussion.
Cool.
But it might not be, like I said, they might do it soon, but they might just wait until
Yeah.
April or something,
Yeah.
Cool.
Speaking of Holly Hall, wait, Aiden said the hall was gonna be closed, but is the rest of the building? Does
No,
anyone,
just upstairs, right?
like, can we still have
Yeah.
meetings here? As the town
They're
office is
renovating
being-
just that.
Just that room.
But
I know,
okay.
but like,
Yeah,
the town, we're still here though.
right. I think the upstairs offices aren't, like, I think but I guess they're working there anyways, but yeah,
Okay,
it's,
because we weren't told anything about moving out of the space, so. Okay,
He-
well, if anyone hears anything, like, let me know if you hear something, because I haven't been told anything about, except that one thing Aiden said about the
Yeah.
hall being renovated, yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, next steps or
Well,
thoughts?
I did hear that the renovation starts right after the town hall meeting.
We have until then, okay.
Yeah, so right after the town hall meeting, which is like the 4th of March, the renovations will start.
Okay, that's helpful, thanks.
And then until like September 30th or something.
Yeah,
it's like
so,
long.
still like a year,
All the offices and stuff are gonna be open down here.
I guess, yeah, I hadn't heard the town hall was moving to the fire department or something.
Right, yeah.
Okay, cool. Great, that's wonderful. Does that conclude that piece of business then? Is that everything we want to talk about with parks and management plans? Anyone else got anything they want to throw in? Okay, great. Then we'll move on. Let's move on to the Timberlands Multi-Trail Partnership.
I think I went over last meeting, right? I'm trying to remember when I got the email.
No, we got it like 3 days after.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and you said, I'll bring this to the commission. I thought,
I-
one less thing for me to
I
do.
did. Yeah. So I did get an email back from Samantha, or we did. There's a lot of people on there. At this point, I should have just put the board on there. But I'm just gonna read it out loud. I don't think there's any.
Does everyone know what the
Oh,
Woodlands
sure.
Multi-Trail Partnership is? Are we good on that? Al, you're good? Do you know what that is, or you want us to explain it?
Isn't that where what you were talking about before too, like the entrance to these new paths for up right near me, but coming from the other direction, right? Yes, we talked about it.
You were in a meeting where we talked about it. Okay, that's wonderful. Great.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, you're good. Sorry, I just want to make sure.
No, yeah, no, I pulled it up just in case I couldn't remember the timeline. Okay, so we'll skip over that part. There hasn't been a ton of progress on their end as the site assessment took the designers most of the summer and fall, waiting for their final report and the conceptual design, which we expect any day now. And that was November 18th, so I guess I could follow up on that. Once we have that in hand, we'll be scheduling another community update. So I don't know how they're advertising the community updates or if anybody's heard anything on that. A few key updates. The initial trail building will focus on the area where there is existing informal trail infrastructure already, i.e. where the Ledges Trail is and the access point from the elementary school. Further expansion will be explored down the road. 2, we met a forester from the Vermont Land Trust who recently led a trail development project focused on enriching bird habitat to discuss ecological impacts and the process that they employed on that. It says they met, but it doesn't really say what the outcome of that was. I don't know. Do y'all know some people in the Vermont Land Trust? It sounds like you all know the forester there. And then not yet a final decision, but our current thinking is that we'll conduct the ecological assessments as we go on the trails that are flagged before building begins, as opposed to on the entire parcel. That this way they can control costs and clearly understand the impact of the trails. So some initial learnings that they're finding through the ongoing discussions with local and state experts. By far, the biggest ecological risk and impact to nature is off-leash dogs. Hikers moving more slowly through the trails than bikers do, which causes disturbances for longer periods of time. And then currently, and I'll give better numbers at a follow-up email that was right here. There are up to or over 2,000 hikers a week or month, sorry, can't remember, accessing the Hogback Trail.
Wait, not that you can't remember, the email said they couldn't remember.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, I was in
Yep, just
Samantha's
wanna make sure. Yep.
voice there. Yeah. I have a follow-up email from Porter, I think, on that though. And then she just says, keep checking in and keep an eye for the public meeting coming soon. And then Porter says, RE use of the Ledges Trail on Hogback. The trail counter that they installed in June showed a total of 4,376 counts in a 4-month period between early June and late September. So that's like 1,000 a month, I guess. Notes that count likely equates to approximately 2,188 hikers, approximately, crossing that point of the trail, as most probably went up and down the same trail segment. So perhaps guesstimate 547 users per month going all the way to the top. The trail counter was nearly 3/4 of the way to the top of the Ledges Trail, so a considerable number of the trail users were not counted, as we know anecdotally that there are many, many people who go partway and turn around either to Reservoir and down, which I think is where we were just talking about that reservoir, or the loop around the reservoir and take another spur. The actual number of users may be higher also, as some people go up the main trail and down a different way. So to me, I don't know why they put it 3/4 of the way up if they know that like not many people go 3/4 of the way up, but also 547 users per month. I don't know. Does that sound like a lot or not a lot to everybody? I feel like,
Sounds a
and
lot different than 2,000,
yeah,
so.
yeah. That's the update I have. So basically, I can follow up again. It sounds like I don't think they're doing anything like now, right? Because of it's winter. Um, but I am interested in if they scheduled that public forum or public meeting or whatever. Um, I know I'm not good enough at following my back porch or front porch forum to know.
Anyone see anything or posters from porch? I haven't seen anything. Okay.
I haven't seen anything.
No.
And I don't know how they're advertising those. It sounded like she said they had one, and I don't know if anybody had heard about it or how they're advertising it. Or where it
The
was.
one that they had was in High Hall and they had ads on Front Porch Forum about it
Like before they met with us the first time or after?
just after.
Yeah, that was like all around that.
Yeah.
We're gonna get something going, I
I
think.
think a lot of people from like Mountain Street were like specifically like, wanted to know about parking and people
Yeah.
coming through and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So I just told them basically, thanks. We had actually just had like that conversation about off-leash dogs on another project. Like I think for the wildlife corridor stuff, they were talking about the same thing, where like one of the biggest risks to the wildlife corridors is like off-leash dogs and their scent and then like wrecking stuff. So that was it's kind of like a known issue that there's not really a way to get around because people are gonna do that regardless of your leash your dog sign. Um, and then I wonder if they're gonna advertise, more towards bikers or make the trails more biker friendly than hiker friendly if they know that hikers have a larger impact. So I don't know, those are the only things off the top of my head.
Are you saying hikers have a more of an impact than the bikers?
Yeah, that's what they're saying because they're lingering longer, right? They're there. So a biker,
Oh.
well, you may think like they're heavier or narrower, what they're just going right through, right? They don't have their dog wandering around or their kids or stopping to
Hmm.
the facilities outdoors or whatever, right? Like doing nefarious teenager things. They're just on their way and zipping through, and the birds don't care, right? Because they're gone already. So that's kind of how I picture it.
But wasn't it also, oh, it was only about wildlife. It wasn't around erosion or those kinds of issues.
That's that. Yeah. Now the email's gone. Sorry, but that was my. I mean, yeah, that's a good question because it's ecological assessment. I picture wildlife. I don't know how
Plants.
robust that is. Yeah.
I mean, my experience on some of the Middlebury, the trail around Middlebury, there's like, I've gone to parts where there's a lot of bikers and those, it affects like the quality of the trail when you're hiking. I mean, I don't know if other people have that experience or there's also more like they create more off-trail trails because they go at least places I've gone. And then I can sometimes be confused as a hiker because it's not all marked. I actually fell on one of those types of trails because I think it was a bike. It may have been created by a bike and it wasn't really a great one for a hiker. So that's just me as a 62-year-old woman who's fallen twice, once, part of the way up by the water tower and once on a Middlebury trail that, I be concerned about the quality of the trail itself if bikers are going on it too, like if it's going to affect the mud and the leaves and all these things, that I personally already worry about because I've already fallen a couple times. But I guess if they're really trying to create, good trails, I would hope they're thinking about these issues. If they're trying to encourage bikes. I have not seen very many bikes. I live, in Mountain Terrace, and occasionally I see someone actually go up on a bike. But from here, most people leave their bikes and then they walk up. But it sounded like they want it to be bike friendly. So
That's my understanding is that, some of the trails will be multi-use, but some of them will be like, this is for bikes. And the idea is that bikers then want to go to those trails because they're for them and they're more exciting and stuff. That's a really good question about like the erosion part. I don't think, so two things. One, if it's about wildlife, which was specifically what that sentence was about, right? Is that wildlife would rather humans be in and out and go away. So if you're on a bike, you're gone, right? So there's that. And then I don't, I don't think that the ecological assessment takes into account like humans, right?
Right.
Like
Okay.
they don't you fell because you're not an animal. I think that would probably be a separate thing that they're doing, I imagine or hope that they would do as like part of a safety evaluation or something like that as it relates to the actual trails as they're getting put in. And I imagine that's kind of what they mean by as we go, we'll do these assessments. I imagine um, there's some sort of liability stuff that they're gonna want to um, get reviewed by somebody somehow, but that's outside of the scope of what we would do.
Yeah.
Um, that's my take on it, at least.
I was just curious, but if they're having separate trails, that'll sort of answer that question that I have about. Thank you.
Next agenda item? I think
Next
that's
agenda
it for me.
item there. Okay, moving on. Educational outreach, plan for next event, water quality presentation, future events, thoughts, Saley, that's you.
Yeah, so I've been in contact with Kate Kelly. And my last note to her was telling her that the date we thought the renovations was going to start was later. And so maybe we push it to a little further out from the holidays, so either late January or early February. And I told her to get back to me with some weekday dates that work for her, and I could see if the hall was available and email you guys. I haven't heard back about that. So if I don't hear back soon, I will nudge her again. But hopefully we'll have that going. Are there any dates or times or days of the week that I should ask her to steer towards?
February. I'm going to be doing home hemodialysis training, starting in a couple weeks until close to the end of January. And I'm going to be, doing about 64 hours a week work, including the
Holy cow.
training. Yeah, so I won't be able to come to the January meeting because I'm going to be doing 3 to 9 at my normal job, after training in the morning.
Okay.
Wow.
So I'll nudge her towards February. Does anyone have any particular day of the week that they think is better? Does it felt like the one with Caitlin was a little bit late. Should I do it more like 6 rather than 7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
makes
like
sense.
that. Is it that's still after work? It might still be convenient for people, but maybe a little bit earlier so you don't run into quite as many early nighters having an issue with it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And if it's in the winter, it's nicer. to be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, no one really likes being out late in the winter, do we?
Yeah. I
Okay.
just had the conflict with the bear thing that it was the third Tuesday because I have something. It's usually on the third Tuesday, but that's just a very personal request that if it's going to be a Tuesday, that it not be the third Tuesday.
Okay.
But you shouldn't schedule
yeah.
it just for me. But no.
Okay, so I'll nudge her towards picking a February date, and then of course it'll depend on when Holly Hall is available, although a lot of weeknights are somewhat available. So, I'll be in touch with you guys about that as that gets narrowed down.
So I good also to think about what is she talking about, and does it need to be something that happens before like milk starts or something, right? So you might
Mhm.
like if she prefers January because the message is important, then we'll do January. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think she had originally suggested spring in general. So, and then we had said January just because we knew that the hall, because Aiden originally thought that it was going to start in the beginning of February.
Makes sense then. Perfect.
So yeah, so February I assume should be fine, but I'll check with her.
Cool.
I think it'd be good to talk about like marketing options earlier on this one than we did for the Bears.
I agree. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, try to get the promotion out there pretty hard.
Yeah. I know you were just like running around town with posters like last minute for the Bears, so
Are there future events we'd like to start thinking about? You know, because the next meeting will be January, and that'll be like, okay, who's setting up chairs for this February event, right? So
yeah.
I just want to make sure we're ahead enough is there something brewing that could become the next thing that's in April in a different, not Holiday Hall location, right? We've talked about some ideas, how the Holiday Hall basement, churches, the fire department, but is there something we want to do with that, right? What are we thinking about?
The pollinator thing I'd still like to
Mhm.
do, and I know there were a couple other groups. I've got them all up somewhere bookmarked, but I think having the alternative to no mow May, I think we had
Yeah.
talked about, and but getting that message out there a little bit earlier with like actual positive action items that homeowners can do that are reasonable.
Mhm.
That'd be my goal for this spring. I think that's cool.
Okay, so maybe in January then we can like kind of like,
Yeah.
we'll start up, we'll have this item, we'll be like, we'll be like, who's coming to this thing? Because we'll know the date, and then it'll be future events, pollinators, who's gonna contact the next person, right? Keep going.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. Any other thoughts on educational outreach? Cool, okay.
I feel like people need to keep their ear to the ground for people who might be willing to speak for not too much money, and also who would be interesting for the community. Yeah.
Mhm. I just saw that the Middlebury Conservation Commission is thinking of doing like a seminar series where they want to have someone come like once a month or every 2 months or something, kind of like this. And then they're trying to find a location. And that's all I know about it, is that they were thinking about it if they could find a space to hold it. So once that, if that gets up and running too, we could almost make like a flyer that's like, these events are happening, so we can kind of get that same crowd to advertise around the area. And I think New Haven used to do a lot of them. I haven't heard anything about them doing it lately. Are they still doing those? Kristen, you're nodding.
Only that they were recently doing, but you're right. I haven't seen them advertise talks in the recent 6 months or so.
Yeah.
I just got told the Lincoln Commission is doing a series of talks with local environmental writers.
Cool.
Oh, cool.
That's all I know.
Yeah, no, I totally heard that too. Christine, the chair up there, has been in contact with Alex and through me. So I've connected the two of them, and then I know she's gonna do a talk on the 30 by 30 board, and then I know that they're trying to start up a whole series. So that'll be neat.
Okay, great. So that's good. We'll leave it there. Yes. Okay. Moving on. Master Naturalist Projects follow-up. I emailed Monica Pretzahart about those ideas that we threw around, and I haven't heard back yet. So she's probably waiting for the next Master Naturalist meeting, I think. And so then we'll hear from them. So it's just, we probably want to talk about that till January. But just want to kind of keep that on our radar, and we'll sort of, there's nothing really to talk about except to say that we're just waiting to continue that discussion, and I'll let you know what comes of it. Great. Okay, the next thing then is the radio station. We said yesterday, sorry, last month, that we would continue discussion, thinking about it. Are people interested or not? Who would go do something like this from the commission if we did? And so I just want to give us the space to have that conversation that we said we would have this month, last month.
Like I remember him talking, and I was kind of like confused on exactly what the ask was, or like what would be interesting that we would do, or what their offer was. So like, is it a podcast interview kind of thing, or is it like, do we want to run ads? Like, if we're talking about kind of needing like marketing for these events, it'd be great if we could say, hey, could y'all mention on the radio every however often, that we have this stuff coming up, or do they already have a segment that's like things around town and make sure that we get in on it? Or is it like I, nominate Kristen to go and talk about, do an interview on all the stuff that we just went over now? But like, is that what they wanted? Like, what was he asking for?
I think they wanted us to help them run podcasts kind of things. There
Yeah.
would be like a couple a year, if every conservation commission pitched in, and stop me if I'm wrong. I think it was like if every conservation commission pitched in, everyone could do one or two a year, or you would give like a little podcast
Yeah.
interview, and they would have some kind of content that they could kind of replay that month.
See, it's the some kind of
think-
content thing that's different.
I
Like
think
everybody
that was
wants
what they
content.
wanted. is
Well,
it-
Yeah.
I thought his ask was actually partially if anyone from our commission would serve on the committee that was doing the radio show. I mean, that's part of what the ask was, I thought. Nancy's shaking her head, nodding her head, so maybe.
I think as far as I remember, it was both
Okay,
to create content and to be on the committee,
like if
to
there was
like
anyone from
pick
our
the
group.
content, I think.
Content picking committee, and they
Well,
Like to
I
help
think-
find the people and say, hey, come be on this, I think.
Yeah, like the
Environment.
different people from different conservation committees he was inviting, I think, to get like someone from different ones that then would work on the content together. I may have misunderstood, but that's what I remember.
yeah.
I mean, we
I
could
get-
also, as a group, come up with content. Like, I guess I don't know if anybody wants to go to their meetings. I mean, it does sound a little odd. I wasn't sure like what it was exactly.
Going there and seeing or talking to him again or something. Because yeah, like if it was being on a committee for them, was it specifically because we're conservation people that they want us on the committee, or is it because we're warm bodies and they need people? Like, I don't know.
Or like, was it specific committee about the environment, or even was it like for an environmental program, or was it a committee for the
Right.
radio? So like in general, you mean?
Yeah, all those
I
things.
see, okay.
I did have that, like, because he mentioned, I think, just conservation commissions, if
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah.
So is it geared towards conservation, or why did he offer it to everybody, other people, or just, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Well, the guy
Right.
who was here was from Moncton's commission,
Right.
And I think I don't think that the whole radio station is conservation, right? I think it was because it has music and all, but I think there was an ask that somehow he had stepped up towards, right, to create this group that would do something conservation related. And he wanted to know if we wanted to be part. So I thought it was programming, some kind of
Yeah.
program, but it was not clear at all what that would be,
Oh, that makes sense.
to me. Like, would it be someone even said, would we have our meetings shared on the radio? I can't imagine anybody wanting to listen to our meetings, but I'm sorry. I mean, it's fun for me because I'm totally new, but
So-
yeah.
John Corcoran is the one who is launching the station. And then he is moving forward and he's trying to find all the pieces to make this radio station happen. And then he's looking for something like a monthly program from different organizations in whatever format makes sense for those groups, just to fill airtime, it sounds like. So who came to speak to us last time was David Moore, I believe, from the Moncton Conservation Commission, who's working on a subcommittee project on this kind of like, could there be some kind of program that was made up of people from conservation commissions speaking or doing something conservation commission topics? Maybe each commission could do 2 or 3 a year, it sounded like, or maybe it was conservation commissions in the county could 2 or 3 a year. That's the part I wasn't sure about, but they're just trying to, I think they're just trying to like, throw things out there, see if people are interested, to kind of contribute to a conservation show that would be, I think, not a big ask. It sounds like they were doing 45 minutes.
Like once a month or something.
Yeah, once a month. Yeah, with different interviewed people.
We're just talking about like the history of various areas that people might not know about, like the bench or the little bit by the river. That might be kind of cool, like for people that
Mhm.
that know that history kind of, because then you could just pick like 1 or 2 things, pieces of the town or whatever, right? And then if that's like Bristol and then Moncton, and then each conservation committee could pick like one historical
Mhm.
cool thing, right? And kind of go through that and how it's impacted. throughout time, then it's not as much about like, here's some agenda item or something we're trying to push through. And that could be kind of interesting to people, maybe.
Yeah, I think we could certainly come up with ideas.
Yeah.
It depends on who wants to do it and what the timeline would be. And I don't know, they're still trying to get money together and they wouldn't need anything from us for several months, I think, right?
Do you have something in your notes about him wanting a possibility of a volunteer from our commission to be part of a group planning these? Because first, that's what I was wondering.
I don't see that
Maybe I,
like in the email I have from him.
okay.
And then
I mean,
it's-
I'd be willing to go to find out what it is if it's a time I could do, but I don't know if I'd be I wouldn't want to necessarily be on the radio, but I mean, I have theater in my background. I don't know, it might have something to do with me, but it depends what kind of commitment, if they're looking for like somebody from our group that would go to one of those meetings, but I don't, since I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm-
Went to New Haven, Starksboro, Lincoln. He's from Moncton and they talked to Bristol, so the whole 5-town area. He went to all those Conservation Commission meetings. So maybe just like if we get some clarity, maybe now that he's talked to all the
Yeah.
committees or what he would like from us or
Yeah.
action.
Too, and just see like, did you find people for your subcommittee? Because if there already are enough people for a subcommittee, and like maybe Gail can go and be kind of the liaison and go
Mhm.
sit in on one of their calls or meetings or whatever, and be like, hey guys, this is what happened, and now we know, and then we can maybe be more make more informed decisions. At a minimum, if we're interested in this, I mean, it's on the agenda item. We should probably I could email him. I mean, I don't know why I'm volunteering for more email threads,
I
but.
think Gail just
Gail
she
could follow-
knew,
Gail
and
could-
I think she just offered.
Yeah, so I think if we just email him and be like, hey, how did it go? You know, on your tour, and then like gently, what is the ask? Like, what can we do to help? And what are you still looking for? And then we'll just go from there, I think, once we hear back.
Okay, Gail, if that's okay with you, I'll send you his email address and you can follow up and let us know at the next meeting if there's any progress.
Okay.
Perfect, that'd be amazing. Thank you. Anyone else have anything about the radio? Before we move on, we're good? Sounds good. Next thing I have is annual town report due December 31st. What the last couple of years we've done is the clerk or someone else who wanted to has done a first pass. And then I've taken it and I've just sort of made it pretty and like turned it into like sort of like a second eye on it to edit it, and then we've sent it to the town from there. Would anyone be willing to do that first pass? So kind of going through the minutes, writing down like what were the most important things we did so far this year in the last 12 months. It would be the calendar year for 25. Who is the clerk right now? Is it Nancy?
I
Is that
can do
official?
it.
That okay. That'd be great.
Nancy,
And then just
Are they posted somewhere?
I can, yeah, and I can send you the draft I made last year that I sent to Carolyn, if that's helpful.
Okay. Yes. Just so I know like what I'm doing.
I mean,
For reference.
what I sent to Carolyn was helpful, but it's also online, right? Isn't our annual report, is it posted?
a PDF every year with all of them in there. So you can see annual reports 2003 through 2004. And every year I just like change the year and I add on the PDF of like the newest one. And so you
Right,
can
right.
look through 25-page document of all of the things. So you just like that's like the basic format. I think Ian's been taking control of it lately and is trying to make them all look similar between all the different committees. So I could do all that work. If you just could go through and be like, we did this major thing this year and this major thing, I can make it sound like fancy, actionable, and then put it in Ian's thing. If that makes sense.
Yes. And Zayla, I found it, so you don't need to send it to me.
And the fancier you do it the first time, the less. But all I'm asking for is a rough draft, and I can make it. I'll finish it. But any level of finish you want to make it would be lovely. We just want to make sure, but like the commission members, we lost Alex, we didn't lose him. We knew where he is, but a few people, right? Helen as well. So we want to change over some of those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Man, we lost Noel. Oh man, I'm just looking at the old report now. Yeah, we had a lot of changeover with some kind of wacky things happening. So it'd be great to organize those. Thank you for your help with that. And yeah, and then what do you think your timeline is going to be? If it's due the 31st?
Like, what? That's like, it's Christmas now.
For Christmas, and then I'll do it like on my mother-in-law's sofa, like on the 30th. Would that
Yeah,
work? Okay.
maybe a
Dude.
week.
I was gonna throw this out there, but this is like what like Google Gemini or something would really excel at. Cause you could just tell it this is last year's.
Definitely.
And then these are all the 12 minutes, and I'm sure you'd
Yeah.
be done in like an hour.
Yeah, if you tell it, do you know how to do that?
No, but I could probably figure it out, right?
I think.
There's probably instructions.
Yeah, I mean, literally
Yeah.
just upload everything and say, like, upload everything that we've got, that we've done, the approved minutes, and then say, this is the format I want it in.
Yeah, if you
And then
just
just
give
let
it,
it
just
spit
feed
it
it in
out.
the PDF from the website
Yeah,
and just say,
yeah.
follow the format from 2024.
Yeah.
And then it would come out with something which you shouldn't trust, but you can read.
But
and
first
that's
draft,
a
yeah.
nice first draft.
We'll send you a
Okay.
ton.
If you don't know how to do it, I could just do it too, Nancy. Just let me know so I have enough time to do it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Gets to Christmas and you're like, then like I'll just do it. It's fine. I'll just do
Okay.
it. Okay, don't worry about it. I could definitely make Gemini. You're right. That's a great use of Gemini.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gemini's good. It's good stuff for first drafts.
For first.
Only for things that don't really matter. That would be great.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And then that's great. And then the next thing I have is January meeting planning discussion. We said that we wanted to start with NOMO, not NOMO. We want to start up with Green Up Day. We want to start up with pollinators. We want to start up with
We,
we'll definitely talk about the outreach.
yeah, prepping the February.
Oh, and I also think Frida said she would come. Did that make it on this? Wait, did that make it on this schedule?
Mm.
Oh, it didn't. Well, we can work it in right now. She's gonna come in January, but wants us, she was wondering if we had any questions specific that we wanted her to prep ahead. So do we have questions for Frida that I could send to her so she can prepare for the January meeting? Or do we want it to be a free-for-all? I know we had some really good ideas about this project that Zaylee brought to us with Alex, right?
Well, yeah, one of the thoughts was like is it possible to get grants to help with some of the legal money that would need to be that people need to pay out of pocket if they want to put their land in an easement,
Mm-hmm. That was a big one.
that sort of thing.
Okay.
Like are there any grants that can help us help homeowners and landowners conserve their land?
Anything else specific? I remember that distinctly that we wanted to do that. Was there anything like anything else we were talking about? Generic, anything else about that?
Dams. There's always dams.
Dams, question mark, I'll put it.
Mhm.
Well, anything else? I just wanted to give her a little email that I could forward so she could prepare, you know?
Thought there was more last time.
I think like I would like to just know a little bit about like what she doing, what does she see what we're doing, what are some of the things that come across her desk. It could be place of collaboration.
Yeah.
That's like generic though, you know.
Yeah.
Could we get grant money for educational outreach programs? We could ask her that.
Yep. Yeah, and that's something that we can't do with our the Conservation Reserve Fund, which I think is something that we've had people in the past come to this commission and have asked for money from that for education outreach, for scholarship opportunities, and we're like, that's not what that money's for, unfortunately. So we have had asks that we weren't able to assist with that. So I know there's certainly community desire for some of those things. So yeah, we could ask about if there's money for that, for any kind of educational programming, outreach stuff.
Yeah.
There's also some things on the town plan in terms of outreach that we have not done, and we have like 2 years to do that. If we do it, some of the tasks roll over, but there was things about like invasive species that we haven't really talked about, like helping landowners know how to identify and what to do with them, invasive species on people's property, or just some of those action items off the top of my head I remember that we haven't really addressed. But that could be something that, that'd be like the kind of outreach we might want money for, like to print the pamphlet, right? Like we could come up with it or ask someone to help with that, but like actually the printing is a cost and sending it out or distributing it, right?
There was the wildlife corridor stuff too, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Educational.
Okay, cool. I can throw that on there. Well, that'll give us a good start, so that's great. Other things for January, I have Frida discussion, educational outreach, because we'll have the water one upcoming right then. Pollinator, I think, starting to brainstorm what we want to do with pollinators. If anyone has ideas for that maybe worked on No Mow May last spring that wants to roll it over into a new pollinator push, that would be a time to be prepared at that January meeting to talk about those things. And then I can start with Green Up Day and let you know. Usually they're pretty quick at the beginning of the year getting me paperwork and things. So we can talk about what date that's going to be and if we have any plans for that this year. Anything else we want? Chris?
AZ mentioned today to me that he would like to come to one of our meetings as soon as January to give us a heads up about the new town plan revisions. And he's going to give us some homework, he said. They said. Sorry.
Great. Well, I'll invite them to this meeting for January.
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay, great. Well, thank you for spending the time to do that. That's always really helpful to think about the next time. And then anyone else want to add for January or things I can put in February if they get bumped or, but just so we turn that corner from fall and all of a sudden it's spring and it's like, oh my gosh, it feels like winter, but really we got to plan for spring so fast. Okay, great. Great. Sounds good. Events, nothing officially upcoming, but we know that will be hopefully something by February as a big event for more people. And then, in January, sometimes we like to look at our calendar and make sure we can think about, there's going to be a date. I'll put that in there, but we'll see if we have Frida and Daisy and everything else, that may get a February, but at least it'll be on our minds, right? Annual calendar, if time. Great. Beautiful. Okay, so that's everything I have. Are we good? We seem good. Great. So our next meeting is gonna be the second Thursday of the month at 6 o'clock. It's going to be planned for January 8th, 2025. To be fair, no one corrected that. So let the record show that should be 2026. Our next meeting will be January 8th, 2026 in Holly Hall with a Zoom option. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to dismiss.
Awesome. Second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, for all your hard work.
Sure.
Yeah. Bye.